Hello, PSWs and friends across Ontario and Canada. Welcome to PSW Podcast, where we come live to you guys every single Friday at 11 a.m., where we talk about the issues in the PSW world, the good, the bad, the gray area. And I am Miranda Romanowicz. I'm the CEO of the Ontario PSW Association, host of PSW Podcast. And of course, I am joined yet again by my co-host, Ian DaSilva, who is the Chief Operating Officer of both CanSWA and OPSWA as well. And we're here today to talk about just talking about PSWs. I mean, honestly, I'm just going to be honest to a lot of our viewers and PSWs watching us. You guys give us a lot of content.
Yeah.
Not going to lie, so much content that we don't even know what to talk about anymore because there is so much content out there
Yeah.
to talk about. So I think one of the biggest things that we're going to start with this week that we've seen at the association that our members have told us, that PSWs have told us, is there's been some changes. There are some changes coming down the pipeline for PSWs. Is there not,
Seems to
Ian?
be. It seems to be that these are more anecdotal, but they're more like symptoms of things that we're seeing, and we think it's part of a not a problem, but a bigger change a good change that's coming down. So let's go into that a bit. I think that's worth talking about. The thing is
Absolutely.
training.
Absolutely.
We're seeing more
Training.
employers putting more emphasis and taking training more seriously. We've seen again, this is more just symptomatic, but we're seeing more employers saying we need this training to occur, and a failure to comply could result in a very serious action. So, why do you think? Like, why is this suddenly happening? This is the first we've encountered these stories in a
Yeah.
long time. So, it's definitely symptomatic of something that's changing at the employer level and at the delivery and planning level. And I'm not necessarily opposed to this, at least if we're hearing it right.
Not opposed to it. I think, the PSW, as many of you guys that are watching us, you know that for over a decade, the association lobbied and cried out for regulation of the personal support workers in the province of Ontario to have some formal recognition of the role that you play, some protections, not just for you guys, but for the public in place. And I think that's what we're seeing.
I think so.
HESCAPOA is in its second year of registering PSWs. And I mean, obviously, there's still a lot of battles on that battlefield that we have to undertake, but we have a good relationship with them. And I think what we're seeing now is the PSW is becoming professional.
I think so.
Yeah.
That's the one that would be my assessment as well. There wouldn't be this emphasis on employment and maintaining your standards if there wasn't. And this is again welcome in my opinion because this means a higher focus on patient care. And if we have PSWs that need additional training or being given the opportunity to do training, regardless if it's annual requirements or professional development, you need to do it. It makes it a stronger system. It makes you a better PSW, makes you a better healthcare worker. The more you learn, the better you are, and the safer our patients are. At least that's the philosophy we embrace when it comes to training here at the OPSWA.
Exactly. And we, as and personal support workers, and I say this as I am one as well. I mean, we are caring for society's most vulnerable,
Mm.
and we should be accountable to uphold our training, our code of ethics, and have that kind of exactly like the nurses, where you can get in trouble if you don't do your job correctly, and that you can be held accountable. And we need to be held accountable. This is not like I was speaking to Nicole, our director of operations, Napoleon, the other
I
day,
do.
and she said what really irks her is we get a lot of emails from people being like, well, now I just want to go work as a PSW. I can just, you guys can just give me a certificate, right? Like it's really
Yes.
easy work. I can just go. It is not an easy job, and I'm going to say it again and again and again until it gets through people's thick skulls, because it is one of the hardest jobs in healthcare. Because and like I said yesterday, I was speaking to a gentleman and I said, activities of daily living. I said, if you think about it, anything you do for yourself in a day, the PSW then has to do it for you. And that's not an easy thing to do. I mean, it's easy for me to put on my pants. It's easy for me to put on my shirt. It's easy for me to brush my teeth and wash myself and go to the bathroom and all that stuff. But for someone to perform it for another person is actually on a completely different level. And it's very difficult.
Oh yeah.
And so, again, we're battling that. Not only is the PSW profession becoming more professionalized, And there's standards that now the PSW has to uphold, and they're being put at a standard. They're being risen, I guess is the word,
Yep.
raised up for this standard of professionalism, which is not a bad thing. But we're still battling the public and employers to an extent
Yeah.
on the whole concept that number one, the PSW is not a caregiver. And number two, the PSW's job is not an easy job. It is very difficult. And so, those are going to be ongoing battles for us here at the association, and battles within the communities because, the PSW tries to say, well, it wasn't easy to transfer your dad from the shower to the tub chair. Oh, it's simple. Just get them to move, like just
Yep.
move them.
Just do it.
Yeah, okay. Do it
Show me how
yourself.
then. Show me how
Yeah.
you do it. And they're like, oh, I can't do it. Yeah. There's that presumption, and again, we rely really heavily on the PSW and the assumption that that PSW can just do it. And I don't know, but it's going to change. We do need to start making sure the public does understand that this is actually a profession. And, um, but also if you're identifying as a member of the public, if that PSW is not performing, you should also be bringing that to the attention of the association and the HESCAPO as well, like just to make sure that we know. But no, we're seeing it's definitely changing, and you need to make sure that the PSW is up to date with training, and you need to make sure that they have comprehensive training. It is all about patient safety. It is all about that
You
for
think
sure.
about like when I did my training back in 2006 versus the training that they are getting now, some better than others. It's there's different lifts,
Okay.
there's different techniques, there's different IPAC, there's different all sorts of stuff. And if you think about the amount of information that a PSW or just a healthcare worker or a professional in general has to, keep top of mind when
Yeah.
they're working, it's astonishing. It's a lot of information that we have to continuously cycle through. I mean, even here at the association, I mean, it's almost like those ads you see on TV, like one day eggs are good for you, the next day they're bad. It's kind of like we deal with that at the association, right?
True.
It's kind of
True.
like,
Yeah.
oh, so today it's not good, but yesterday it was fine. Okay. Like
Yeah.
healthcare is constantly churning and constantly changing. And the PSWs have to stay on top of that. And that's not easy.
And then it resonated with me last week. If the PSW makes a mistake or for some reason, because they're human, is not able to maintain constant up to date on every little change, they get asked, well, what could you have done better? It's like, seriously? So I think there is a little bit of a disconnect, but it is encouraging to see employers at least acknowledging that you have to have some additional training. So salute to the employers that saying, yes, we want to provide training to our PSW our PSW staff to keep them up to date because it's a,
Just wonderful
yeah, you
because
got,
there's so many homes out there, Ian, that don't do any training at all. Where PSWs, I mean, like they get hired and they've been there 20 years and they've never done an in service ever,
well, yeah, that's true.
right? Like that's also a reality, right? Because again, it's going back to that whole concept. And I swear to God, that's where a lot of this lies is anybody can do our job. It's a simple job. Well, it's not. Can we just like squash
Not.
that right the
It was
hell
such
now?
a simple job, then why wouldn't anybody do it? Like if you had a sick family member, you just do it yourself. If it's so easy.
Go for gold.
Go for gold, right? But then you start to realize, oh my family's sick. Well, am I gonna do it? No, I can't do
I
it. Someone
can't
else
do
has to
it.
do it.
Yeah,
I want someone.
exactly.
And then you get the other disconnect of people. Oh, I remember that one we had. I'm sorry, just gonna they want but people have unrealistic expectations too. I want to live in PSW. That will be on call 24/7, 7 days a week for $14 an hour, but we're gonna pay food and board. Like they want slaves. It's like who, who would do
Like
this?
I
So there's
really
a
hate
lot
to
of
inform
disconnect.
you. It's like I really hate to inform you, Mr. Smith, but we're not in 1860. And these people have rights, and
Oh
you
my
cannot
God.
be treating PSWs like that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's you're not gonna have a live-in maid come live with you in their little corridor in the corner. Like, no, it's not gonna happen like that. And OPSW is gonna put themselves through that. Also, you can't, and it's really difficult. The
No,
other thing
absolutely.
I want to touch base on is turning a little bit of a topic. We've been getting a lot of new graduates saying that they're not finding work when they come out of college. So when they've graduated. So let's just talk about that if you don't mind, just for 2 minutes.
Absolutely.
Just to resonate, one thing that we want to make sure that new graduates, when you come out of your program and you're a brand new graduate, like any new graduate from any program, you may have been told that you were guaranteed a certain type of job in a certain type of facility. You need to start sometimes a little bit more realistically. And I'm wondering your thoughts on that, Miranda, because we've seen a lot of that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I do TikTok live twice a week, typically Wednesdays and Friday nights. I go on about 7:30 at night. And I get inundated by new graduates that are stating that, I only want to work in long-term care. They told me I could
Yeah.
get work in long-term care and there's full-time hours. Okay, I don't know what planet these schools are living on, but definitely not the Ontario planet because there is no full-time in long-term care. There is the odd full-time in long-term care if you go
You
extremely rural.
you can get it, though,
You can
yes.
get it. If you
Get it.
go up to like nowhere, Ontario, you can get that full time. However, if you want to be successful as a PSW, you need to take whatever job you get and you need to build your experience, build your portfolio, figure out if you want to specialize in an area, which is also really important. Like I myself was very interested in mental health when I was a PSW. And so when I graduated from Mohawk, I ended up taking courses through like just small seminar workshops through like McMaster University and like CAMH, where I built my portfolio in education while simultaneously also working for 950 or 850 an hour in home care so that I could also keep up to date and keep my skill set sharp. I ended up getting hired in long-term care in a small town, middle of nowhere. And I had a line, but my line was a bath nurse. So they called us back in the day, and I had a 4-hour shift. And that's the line that I got right off the hop. And you just got to take what you can get and don't expect that there's tons of full-time work because there's not a lot of full-time work in long-term care. They will hire you casual, part-time cash. You can work insane hours in long-term care, but you will only be deemed part-time casual. You won't be deemed full-time, even if
Yeah.
you're working full-time hours. That's just the nature of long-term care. And then we have the PSW students who think they're going to move right into hospital. And I'm just going to be blunt. Guys, you need at least 5 years experience before you go working in a hospital environment. Why? Because you're dealing with massively acute symptom patients. You're dealing with situations that you would not have been taught in school.
No,
So
you
you
wouldn't
need
have.
to have that experience, that hands-on experience in order to work in those environments. You can't
Which
expect it.
And that ties into the whole conversation. And the reason we're doing this podcast this morning is about that need for training.
Yeah.
Every profession has it needs to continually re-educate itself. And now we're seeing that happening in the PSW, which is why we're seeing so many new graduates I think that's the reason. They're surprised that they need to have this. It's not a job. Like when you graduate from the personal support worker program, there's a concept that it's a job, which it is, but you're actually beginning your career in healthcare, either whether you're going to go into nursing or do paramedic or something different. It is a career. It is your beginning of your healthcare career. So the expectation for training, even right when you finish the program,
Yeah.
when you graduate a program, you don't know enough to do the work. It takes experience and it takes field work to understand that.
Yeah, when I graduated the PSW program, Ian, I was petrified because yeah, I did good in my clinical and my practicum, but when you're out there, all of a sudden I don't have my buddy from that I'm buddies with school at the location with me, and I'm on my own.
On your own.
And I use to figure it out on your own. And that's why, we also push for, new students to join the association or at least partake in our social media presence because you're not alone. I mean, we're the largest community of PSWs in Canada. And, there's always PSWs that are willing to give advice or to guide our new students that are graduates out in the field. And to also understand too, like you said, you are bang on. The PSW program, I like to say, is the novice. That's the novice course for healthcare. You take PSW, and a lot of PSWs, they just take the PSW program. That's it, that's all, and that's fine. And they go work in retirement home or long term care for the rest of their lives, and they never upgrade. And that's perfectly fine.
I'm
But
going
then
to put
there's,
novice in parentheses. It's novice in terms of healthcare, but it's still
yeah.
pretty comprehensive.
Oh my
You
God.
need it.
Yeah. I mean,
We can't just walk into the field.
no,
That's a year program, yeah. But
No,
it's
but
the
like people
lineage.
say,
Yeah.
you don't think that PSWs have a difficult job, but when you're trying to perform care on an individual who's combative, or you're trying to, move someone who cannot bear weight, or you're trying to deal with different types of cognitive decline and mental illnesses, and that's another thing people don't seem to realize is PSWs like for us to get hit, spit on, pinched, fondled, slapped on the daily basis in the PSW world is deemed normal. It's not normal, but it's deemed normal. So, the PSW is putting themselves at risk
Oh
almost
yeah,
every single day when they're going into their jobs. And they do it because they care. Like, that's what I say is like, no one becomes a PSW. And if you do, you better leave the field. But nobody becomes a PSW because it's just a job. You're not going to do good. You're not going to enjoy yourself. And you're not going to give that proper care to the people that demand it and require it in our province. And
great.
so that's why I say, like, yes, it's a novice, but it's very difficult to do that course. Number one. Number two, what I mean by novice is that a lot of PSWs choose to specialize.
It
So
is. It's the beginning.
yeah,
It is exactly that. It's just don't. It's not a negative term. It's an introductory concept.
yeah,
So the novice
absolutely.
PSW is the one that graduates right out of college with everything ready to go. Then, like any profession, you hit the real world, and it's different.
Well,
It's
I had someone
different.
say to me, I think on Wednesday night on TikTok, they said PSWs should make $35 an hour starting. And I had to explain to them, I said, listen, I'm not against PSWs making good money. We're very much about PSWs making a living wage at the association. Absolutely. But we also have to remember, guys, how much training we've had. Okay. You're looking at anywhere from 6 months to 8 months of training for the personal support worker. In what world would any one of us make $35 an hour to start? It's not,
To
it's
start.
not to start.
To
To
start.
start.
To
Yeah.
start.
So like out the gate, you're making $35 an hour. And
It's
you know what? There are people out there
there
that
are,
get that.
and we get the and they will come and tell you that you're wrong when you give that on your social media too. You're wrong. I just got a job out of graduation in Kenora, and you're great. Kenora's like those types of areas need it. But most of our membership is we're talking about the GTA Southern Ontario is where the expectations
where
are.
we see it's you got to be realistic. And it's like someone said to the other day, they said, well, I'm only making $29 an hour. Only I would have killed to have made $29 an hour as a PSW. I would have killed to make 25. The most I ever made as a PSW was 23.
Well, when I started with OPSWA, $29 was usually a reserve for an RPN.
Yeah.
That was an
And in
RPN.
some cases too, which I do find unfair, PSWs are making more than the RPN.
Yeah, that's an odd that's a tough one because
Weird.
it's a it again it's not there's something not right there. I mean, at least according to how the healthcare system, there's a lot of disconnects. So that's again, we have a if you can, great, good for you. I'm sure you deserve it, but it's almost that's a disconnect with expectations. But as for other, that's a really complicated one. PSW making more than an RPN, it's like it's a rare
Very
situation.
close. We saw it through COVID, where suddenly the PSW was making right up to the RPN because of the $3 wage enhancement that we got made
And
permanent.
and then the
Um,
RPN felt slighted by that, and
they
I
did.
kind of got it. Like I
No,
understand
I
it,
totally understood
totally
it. And then I
understand.
kind of, but it's also, I mean, every profession has a professional association for those of you guys that are watching. And one of our biggest jobs as a professional association is to bring awareness to the public as to who you are
Yeah,
as PSWs, what your duties are, and to advocate to the government for changes to legislation and policy and rights and all that stuff related to this stuff. If your association is not advocating for you, you don't see any advancement,
yeah,
right? We've made massive advancements for the PSWs in the past decade. And I mean, the $3 wage enhancement, PSWs are now deemed essential. There's regulation that's occurring. We're being professionalized. PSWs now can
yeah,
specialize in different areas. Like, it's really the PSW has grown in 10 years.
yeah, absolutely.
But when that happened with the $3 wage enhancement, right, cozied up to the RPN, then you got to look at we RPN.
Yeah, but then we are PN also. I mean, their credit, they weren't just focusing on wages. What we are
No,
PN wanted to do, we begin to help PSWs become RPN nurses. So there's other supports the community. The RPN, I'm outside my area when I'm talking about RPNs, just
absolutely, we both are.
totally
Yeah.
outside area. But I mean, the RPNs focusing and nursing focusing is like what we're trying to do. Well, we're trying to do that is really specializing on what kind of training in RPN, specializing in that training. That's wonderful. I think that's great. And for PSWs, we want to do that, but not if you want to stay as a PSW. If you want to become an RN, Good for you. That's wonderful. But I think we want to look at, I think it's part of the whole specialization area. And that's how we may build a stronger system, in my opinion.
I think that's exactly what it is. I mean, the PSWs, I think what's happening, guys, the PSW is becoming an actual profession, not a fly by night, not a job. It is becoming a profession like the nurses and like the doctors and like the nurse practitioners, et cetera, et cetera. It's becoming that. And there's going to be a lot of bumps and grinds and wars along the way because I mean, there's going to be things that they do that we don't like. There's things they're doing right now that we don't like. But at the end of the day, this is an extremely positive thing for PSWs. I think so, anyways. I
I
mean, I have some PSWs that are pissed off at me, which are pretty normal because they're like, well, we don't really like this regulation. And you wanted this and this and that. And I said, listen, they gave me 4 hours to make a decision on this regulation.
Yeah, and we had to pick it. And the decision was we needed some sort of structure and there needed to be something, and something was better than nothing. So at the end of the day, that's it.
I just want to point out too, as well, Ian, to those that are watching and those are who probably either think, one thing or another. We do not, nor do we ever want to be the regulator of
No,
PSWs in Ontario.
we
I
don't at all.
really need to make that clear. They can copy my voice and play it for their friends. We do not want to be the regulator.
No,
The
it's
only
a
reason, the only reason why OPSWA put ourselves out there for like a long time as self-regulation was because the government had absolutely no interest in regulating the personal support workers. So therefore we did it ourselves, basically.
and then
But now there's HESCAPOA, and I will be very happy to hand off a lot of that responsibility to the regulating body here in Ontario.
and
So
we're
yes, we do not want to be the regulating body, right, Ian?
we do not.
No.
We do not. But we also think this is the end of the experiment from the 1990s where we can rely on a whole bunch of cheap labor to support our system. Cheap,
Mhm.
unregulated, to be honest, mostly women that they can just that are disposable. I think that's really what we're fighting is to get this has got to end. So that if they're
Stop a
getting
lot of the
care,
myths, a lot of the
well,
myths, a lot of that kind of rumored way of thinking that's been, integrated for so long. We have to stop it because PSWs, you are now professionals.
and patients
Congratulations.
and patients in Ontario should be expecting a professional healthcare worker at their bedside at all times.
Yep.
Questions you should be asking: are you part of an association? Are you registered with your provincial registry? Very straightforward questions you could ask a nurse and they'd say yes to. But if you ask a PSW, ask your PSW. Make sure they are
Amen.
who they say they are. So
Amen. Amen. So I think this was a really great conversation. I mean, it was kind of, I don't think all over the place. Actually, I think
no, it's
we kind of stayed on track this time, Ian, a little bit better.
the first
But
time for everything.
we open up these, sometimes we don't have topics, guys, and we just open it up because sometimes we just got to talk. I mean, you guys talk at us all the time about what's occurring and what's happening in the PSW world. And right now, there's a lot.
It,
And so yeah, we didn't know where to go with this PSW podcast. But next Friday, we are being joined by Taryn
Aaron Bolt from
Bolt
Nucleus
from,
Independent Living.
thank
We're
you.
going to be discussing the Regional Learning Center, and we're going to be discussing, and you're going to be noticing on OPSWA, we're doing a lot more posts about the RLC. Regional Learning Center has a lot of great courses. Please have a look at them, register. It's they're concurrent, they complement everything to do with your PSW career. And we're going to be talking to Taryn a little bit more about that and a little bit more about training and making professionalizing this profession. So
You know what's really cool about next Friday, Ian?
I'm doing this one alone, aren't I?
Ian is taking over as
Yes.
host of PSW podcast next
Miranda
Friday.
can't Miranda can't make it next week, so it was kind of a
No.
last minute thing, but I'm gonna jump in and I will it'll be good. Taryn's awesome, so we won't have a problem. So
Yeah, it's going to be a good conversation. Remember,
absolutely.
guys, we do have our education still out there. Next week is the first run of our autism specialist program. So we're really excited about that. We have a lot of great stuff coming down the pipeline. We've hired a new educator for the association as well. And so she's going to be pumping out a whole lot of new programs in the coming months. So stay tuned for that. We're going to have a lot of professional development courses for our PSWs. If you're not a member yet, remember, guys, if you're not a member of OPSWA, you're not protected. So make sure to head over to OPSWA.com, or you can find our link either in our profile here on Facebook or on TikTok, and you'll be able to join us that way. All memberships are tax deductible. And we do have a live chat on our website where you can talk to staff directly if you have any questions or concerns. So I'm going to say, I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. Stay warm. Stay warm, stay safe. It's apparently Ontario is going to be the coldest place in the world this weekend. So yay! So let's make sure that we take care of ourselves. Do the extra checks on your clients for those in home care. Remember, your life is not worth the risk if it is very dangerous on the road. If you're an OPSWA member, we do have a policy that will protect you if you have to say no to going out in very bad weather. So thank you, Ian, again for joining me on yet another episode of PSW Podcast. Thanks, everyone, for coming out. And remember, stay safe, stay warm, and become a member, because at the end of the day, we're all about you guys. Thanks so much. And with that, we're going to say, OPSWA out.